Hello there everybody. Now considering that at this point in time we are like almost just a week away or so away from actually getting Dragon's Rising Part 2 released to us officially on Netflix, since we're so close to that all actually happening, I felt as though it was kind of necessary for me to make a full-on top 5 hopes and expectations for the second half of this season. This is something that I am super excited to see, but at the same time there are just a few minor little things that I'd like to go over, which is why I want to make today's video, because there are a few worries I have and a few expectations that I also happen to have going into Part 2, and while these are all kind of minor in comparison to all of the things I'm like super confident in, I just felt as though a whole video detailing some of my hopes and expectations definitely would make for a suitable video here today. So with all of this being said, in absolutely no particular order, let's just get straight into my list here, and you guys are going to pick up the whole point of this video pretty quickly as we move forward. But just to kick things off here, I am really hoping that, simply put, nothing is rushed. This is quite a vague expectation to have, honestly. It's really not very specific to, like, Dragon's Rising Part 2 at all on its own, and could realistically be used as a hope for any Ninjago installment. But still, this has to be said, especially considering what happened with Crystalized and the second half for that season in just so many ways. I absolutely hope that the same thing doesn't end up happening this time around, so overall, yeah, as long as everything isn't rushed, I'm going to be fairly happy with the season, just considering how amazing the first half was. But if everything is super rushed, then that may go down the drain, and I may have some pretty negative thoughts on the season overall. Up next though, I really hope that Raz gets a good end story and actual conclusion. I would simply hate to see Lord Raz get basically just kicked to the curb, considering the cliffhanger they left him on in Part 1, and overall just everything that happened with him in Part 1. Everything seems to be tying into something pretty spectacular for Part 2, if I do go ahead and say so myself. Or at least, I hope so. I'd hate to see him end up totally underutilized, just in general here. So yeah, a lot of Raz focus. Please, can we get that? Expanding further on what I have literally just said about Raz just now, a similar message can also be put out there with regards to Beatrix, the actual big bad of this particular season. With just so much being set up for Part 2, speaking just overall here generally, I'd hate to see her just flop badly and heavily, ending up as a boring, redundant type of villain, if that makes sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not going into Part 2 actually expecting this to be the case. I happen to have a whole lot of faith in the writers this time around, but there's always that small chance, I suppose, that something could go left. So I'm praying that her story feels concrete and has a nice, well-rounded conclusion. It's the least she deserves, in my honest opinion. Coming up next at number 2... oh boy, new Elemental Masters. A lot could go wrong with them, and also a lot could go right, and I feel as though that I could just drag this whole portion of the video on for a fair while here, just going over a few of my worries with regards to them. So I'll just say this. I hope it all feels... I don't even know what word I'm looking for here exactly, but I suppose I hope it just makes sense, simply put, and is sensible. Not sensible as in super serious or dark, don't worry, I'm not one of those people that thinks Ninjago should be all dark and serious at all times or anything like that, but at the same time I do not want them to be entirely wacky, and for the whole idea of new Elemental Masters to seem goofy and, I don't know, I suppose out of place. Simply put though, if it feels natural, I'm good with it. Now there's no real reason as to why this simply wouldn't be the case, but regardless it is definitely something I would like to put out there just here. Now lastly then, you could consider this to be a ranked option just out of all of the other 4 options I've already spoken about, but please do not mess up Jay and Cole. And to expand on that a tad more, don't mess up everything else going on in favour of their story and everything that they've got going on. I know they're not together, but the same kind of thing applies, because Cole seems to have his own wacky thing going on, and Jay... well, there's a lot to say about Jay, but it just all feels a little bit extra and too much as it is, without ruining the limelight for basically everybody else and everything else on screen. So I do absolutely hope that everything manages to remain balanced, and yeah, this is definitely a big worry that I've had for a while now, so this is definitely one big hope that I have going into Part 2. I'd hate to see this story and arc fill up all of the spotlight and meanwhile end up pushing everything to the side indirectly. Definitely a big hope here, and I absolutely had to put this one out there. But with all of this being said, you guys, that is going to conclude things here. Now that I've done talking, though, I do absolutely encourage all of you to go ahead and leave any of your own thoughts and opinions on this down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear your own thoughts regarding this. Please, though, if you did make it this far to the video, then I'm sure you actually did end up enjoying it. And if you did, please do go ahead and leave a like on it. It really helps me out on my YouTube journey. Go ahead and subscribe to more if you're new here or just simply haven't done so before. And why not click that notification bell so that you can keep up to date on all things Ninjago and keep up to date on all of my new content right here on the channel. And with all of this being said, guys, I will catch you all very soon for a new one. Take care, and I will see you all soon.